My family story. I'm not sure if I just need to vent, or if I'm looking for advice. I just feel like I need feedback from others who have dealt with the same problems to help sort out what's normal about what I'm feeling. Long backstory, so thanks in advance to those who take the time to read it. I'm a very distrustful person. Let me start with that. I have obsessive thoughts about people lying to me or trying to hurt me. I know that comes from growing up in a bad household. So, I've learned to stuff those thoughts as being unreasonable most of the time. I just want that up front, as emotionally I tend to feel the worst case possible. So logically I overcompensate and try to give the benefit of the doubt. I'm 42, wife just turned 44, married 21 years, 3 kids, 1 in college, 2 in high school. My job has moved me around a lot for work. 2 of the kids were born with medical issues. So, in the younger years we were always a very tight-knit family, needed to rely on each other a lot, and because of the moves didn't have many friends that were not family friends. 5 years ago, we moved back to our hometown. Wife was very social in high school and her family is very active in civic matters in town. So, she knows hundreds of people who live near us. She connected over Facebook with old friends from high school, became active on the reunion committee and started going to various informal gatherings that took place mainly at bars to sing karaoke. I'm a much less social person. I'm happier at home, playing video games or working around the house in the evenings. I would go with her sometimes, but more often I would not. I didn't really like those people in high school. And from the couple of times I went, they haven't changed much. 3 years ago, my wife's mother died. She took that loss very hard, but didn't want to talk about it, because it made her cry. She started to go out more, also joined a local community theater. She was out more nights than she was home, and when I requested she be home more, she would get angry with me and tell me she didn't want to be home if all I was going to do was be in the basement playing video games. The kids were getting older and needed her less, and she wanted to have a life. She started working on losing weight, was dressing nicer and looking good. I would joke with her, prior to D-Day, that I'd better keep an eye on her. She would tell me I had nothing to worry about, she was all mine and would never think about cheating. What a piece of crap. Most of 2011 we felt disconnected. I knew our relationship was off. I suspected something could be going on, but I had a hard time coming to grips with that. I figured out the password to her phone and Facebook and started keeping tabs on her. There was some banter with the theater folks, but more like you would hear when joking around with a body crowd. Nothing that I would say was flirty. Shortly before our anniversary she started making plans to have lunch with someone she has known since the 3rd grade. I'll call him Joe. She didn't tell me anything, so all I had to go on was the texts. Nothing physical, just lunch and a big hug because they haven't seen each other in decades. I feel I made a mistake in confronting her at this point. I didn't have proof of anything, and it tipped my hand that I was looking over her shoulder. This was June 2011. She claimed he was just a friend and whatnot. I was still livid. I told her if that was true, she could invite him and his wife over for dinner sometime, but not of a private lunch with only him. She claimed that would be uncomfortable now that I was so suspicious. She didn't change her passwords, but I could tell by reconciling to the bill she was deleting texts. I asked her not to and she would always come up with the bullcrap story that she was just freeing up space on her phone. Just before Memorial Day 2012 I caught Facebook chat from Joe planning a lunch date for Memorial Day. As the day approached, I was waiting for her to lie to me for some excuse to get out Memorial Day afternoon so I could confront her. She didn't mention anything about it, so I checked her Facebook again on Sunday. Turns out they both didn't realize it was Memorial Day, so they canceled their plans. I wanted to save that log prior to her deleting it, but wasn't sure how to do that from FB, so I tried to archive thinking it would download it, but it just disappeared. I read up on archiving and figured out it just saves it, but it no longer appears in the messages tool. So, I went into the archive to undo what I had done so she wouldn't notice. That's when I saw another thread from July with another high school acquaintance. I'll call him John. It was full throttle online affair. Him asking her questions about her and if she liked to feel her and what a great time they could have. She was leading him along, not trying to stop the chat, but insisted that they maintain boundaries as they wouldn't want to get in trouble. What the hell, there was a reference to another chat where he thought she had masturbated while they chatted. Ugh, so disgusting to think about. She always shamed me when I would masturbate and told me she tried it once when she was younger but didn't like it. I was devastated. I was hoping to this point that it was just my distrustful nature, that she wouldn't really do anything to betray me. But here I had it, proof she was at least in an emotional affair with this POSOM. This guy was at one of the high school gatherings she went to without me back in December 2010. She also tried going to another gathering in December 2011, but I decided last minute to go with, and she came up with some lame reason for not wanting to go. So, my conclusion that she hadn't been physical with this guy prior to July 2011. I think she was open to the idea, but maybe I caught it before it got that far. I copied those posts and saved them on a thumb drive and hid that. I confronted her when she got home, first about her setting up a lunch date with Joe. She stuck to her he is just a friend story and said she would have told me, but since they canceled, she didn't see a point in bringing it up. I said I didn't care. If she even was thinking about having lunch alone with another guy, she needed to tell me about it before setting a date, and then only go if I felt the guy in question was safe. As I didn't know Joe, he was not safe. She said I had nothing to worry about, so I then asked her, is there anything I should be worried about? If not with Joe, how about with anyone? Did she ever kiss anyone? Let anyone touch you? Ever have an inappropriate text or chat conversation? She looked me straight in the eye, and without missing a beat said, no, never. I would never do that to you. I quoted a line her chat with John. I could tell from the look on her face she knew she was busted. I went off like an animal. Kids in the next room and all. I no longer cared to keep calm. I was crying like I've never cried before. I rarely cry. And screaming at her, calling her a piece of crap and liar. I told her to come clean now. She then admitted to the chat with John. She said there were also similar chats with another guy who I didn't know. But she said it was never physical and that she stopped it last year shortly after those texts as she felt sick to her stomach about doing it. I told her I wasn't buying it. They were still friends on her Facebook. That although she hadn't been to a high school gathering in 6 months, she was still in contact and planning to go again at some point. She was stunned, obviously remorsefully. But I'd say more remorseful over being caught than what she did. She wanted to rug sweep and rug sweep fast. I told her it wasn't going to happen. I told her to go unfriend anyone on FB that she either flirted with or encouraged her flirting. I told her she was to no longer delete texts and chat and that I would be watching. Anything deleted in my book would be cheating. I don't care if it was just a happy birthday note to Dad. Don't delete it. I exposed her to our pastor and he referred us to a family counselor for MC. She removed about a dozen Facebook friends. Some males, some female, mostly high school people. Her posts were less flirty, but there was still some flirting going on that I was quick to point out to her and use as examples of things that pissed me off to see. She would call other guys handsome and sweetie. She told me she was just being nice, trying to build them up. I asked what for. Did she realize that was tearing me down and leading them on to thinking maybe she was attracted to them? She got the point and cut that out. Through MC, both of us realized we had some pretty major individual issues. So, we have put marriage counseling on hold for a few months to focus on. I see I'm still holding her accountable to follow my rules. Yes, more than a bit controlling, but oh well. I have her computer checked and haven't seen anything. I keep an eye on texts versus the phone bill and she deleted one message from one of the theater guys. They were joking about dildos. That was about a month after D-Day. Nothing since. From what I can observe, she seems to be doing everything I've asked. I still just can't shake the feelings of anger and sadness. I've quit video games, started working out, playing my clarinet more. The anger and depression are not constant like they were the first few months, but it still comes on daily, usually when I'm at work or lying in bed trying to fall asleep. I just can't stop my mind from racing with the what-ifs. What if she didn't tell me the whole truth? What if she just took it deeper underground? What if? Does it ever stop? I like the name of the forum, so I'll use it in the form of a question. How do you cope with infidelity? I know there is no one answer to that. Heck, maybe I'm asking it rhetorically. Maybe I have no idea what I'm doing posting here. Thanks again to those who took the time to read this. I'd appreciate any input on how I handled the situation. And now that I'm where I am, what should I be doing to stop the obsessive thoughts? Or should I embrace them? I feel like a mental case. We are both seeing individual therapists every other week. Her therapist is our MC. My IC is a different therapist. I'm going to ASEA meetings weekly to work on my issues. She is doing all the right things. No contact. I can track her phone, see her Facebook. I don't think she knows I'm keeping an eye on her computer. She hasn't deleted anything since the one a month after D-Day, which I caught from the phone bill. She is very good about telling me where she is going, who she is with and such. So, logically I don't see any red flags. I just wish the emotions would catch up. Maybe I'm just depressed realizing they never will. I'll always be suspicious. Maybe I'll stop checking constantly and obsessing. But I'll never trust her like I used to. I'm working on healthy trust as my therapist calls it. Trusting a little and giving more trust as it's earned. Also decreasing trust when it's broken. My therapist says complete trust is not healthy. And it's okay if I never fully trust her again, as long as I can get to a point where I trust her enough. Sounds so ambiguous. I struggle with the concept. My therapist pointed out how I was saying things. I was being very black or white. Either I trusted, or I didn't trust. I was having a hard time because any little thing that could be a sign. I was immediately assuming the worst. Then I'd lash out at my wife. Basically, I'm in a cycle where I either hold it in and explode or assault her with a constant stream of accusations. She asked me if our marriage could work if I never trust her, to which I had to say no. I don't think a marriage can work without trust. Then she asked, do I see myself ever trusting her as blindly as I did before the affairs? To which I had to admit, no, I don't ever see myself being that trusting again. It seemed to me like that dooms the marriage, which she pointed out it doesn't have to. I don't have to have blind trust. I just have to trust enough that she wouldn't do it again, but be distrusting enough to pay attention to the signs. That if something comes up and it could be a sign, it needs to be investigated. What's different is I don't have to feel bad about investigating it. I don't need to feel bad about checking on her to make sure she isn't cheating on me, because my WW has taught me that if I give her blind trust, she has the capability to abuse it. So, she doesn't deserve it. I read somewhere else that trust is like rungs on a ladder. When you first meet someone, one person has to take a risk and give the other person a little trust, then see how they respond. The example given was like a guy giving a girl his phone number. If she calls him, she returned that trust. So, you can give a little more. This give and take is good, and if you build it in balance, it's good. But if the trust is not returned, you need to back off and that's it. The end of the line. You can't keep piling trust into a black hole where none is returned. It's not healthy. You cannot be the black hole either. So, that needs to be fixed or there is no relationship. Still working on applying that visual to my life, but the concept helps. I don't think I'm rug sweeping. I've even went so far as to lessen her risk by giving her a window to tell me the truth. She had till June to confess anything. No matter what she said, I told her I would stay and work on it if she was willing. But if I find out she lied about the extent or number of affairs after that, I will go straight to the lawyer to have divorce papers drawn up. She is either very confident that there is no evidence or I have the full truth. I'm suspicious to the core. So, even if I think I have the full truth, I'll always be hunting for the lie. That trait is so deeply embedded in who I am, I can't turn it off. So, I'll accept it. We also talk about my trust issues. When something bothers me, I investigate it. She is getting good at not being defensive about it. She used to blow up at me for not trusting her. She can never say that again. I'm allowed to not trust her. I'm not allowed to accuse her. I can ask, I can investigate, and I can snoop, but I won't accuse without proof. But she doesn't hinder my investigations or get offended by them. She knows I need that, and she is learning to deal with it. I don't think that's rug sweeping. When I investigate my wife's actions with the lens that I'm trying to detect a lie, it's accusatory by nature. I'm really digging to exclude all the wild possibilities, so that I am confident in the truth. I think this is a much better way to look at it. I don't think my wife is a bad person or dishonest by nature. I think she made some bad choices and had poor boundaries, then was dishonest about it. She is working on that with her therapist, and I've been very clear to her that her honesty is paramount to reconciliation. I had my truth hunting skills turned off for the past few years. I was occupying my mind so that I didn't have to deal with the pain unfolding in my life. I'm done with that. I'm fully awake again, and I will keep my eyes open and take notice of everything. She will either accept that or not. We will either successfully reconcile or not. The two are linked. The hard part will be down the road. I almost don't want the pain to fade. It keeps my guard up. I don't want to let my guard down, but I can't live on a constant state of red alert either, can I? Full truth. She claims I do. She did give me some details that I did not have evidence to prove. So, she has given me more truth than I had discovered on my own. However, she was very forgetful, dismissive of details. She gets agitated when I press for more information, saying things like you won't be happy until I make up something worse. So, my gut is telling me that there is more to it. I'm just not sure. If more is there, I'd like to know. But it's also possible that I'm just looking for more. I'm letting it go for now, but it's something I'm going to revisit in MC. Transparency. She is doing very well in this area. I know all passwords. She tells me where she is going, who she will be with, and when she will be back. On the side, I keep an eye on her car odometer. So far everything checks out. Honesty in words, too soon to judge. When she says she loves me, or that I'm the best, it still stings. If I was all that great, why did she cheat? As far as sticking to our agreement and transparency goes, what she says is supported by what she does. So, from what I can observe, it's good. Remorse, very weak in this area. She was very sorry when I confronted her, or when I break down. I gather that she is sorry for getting caught. I even believe she is sorry that I'm hurting because of her actions. I just don't know if she is sorry for the multiple emotional affairs. She never asked me to forgive her. She never initiates conversations about our relationship unless we are in MC. When I bring something up, she is responsive for a little while, but has an annoying habit of changing the topic. That is very annoying. I used to just drop it. But lately I've been calling her out on her topic changing, which works at keeping us on topic for a little while. I just can't help feeling like she is worried about hurting me, so she isn't giving me everything. She said, "It happened. I know it was wrong. It felt wrong and I stopped. I will never do it again and just want to move forward." A week later, then this morning the oddest thing happens. We get a text message on our home phone number from a number I didn't recognize asking, "Can I come tonight?" I have to assume he means the Christmas party at the community theater tonight. It's the only event I know going on tonight. I have my counseling meeting at the same time, and my wife only asked me about coming to the party yesterday. Which of course I'm going to the party. I looked up the phone number and it's a guy my wife knows from the theater. I've met him and his fiancée at a party a few months back. Kind of an odd guy. Anyway, I figure he has both our home number and my wife's number programmed into his phone and sent the text to our home number by mistake. So, trying to egg along a conversation, I said, "Sure, why not?" He replied, "Just checking." Then about 5 minutes later he called the house. I was at work and wife is at home, but I get the caller ID pop up on my phone so I know who is calling. I asked my wife why he was asking her for permission to come to the party. She said she had no idea, that he is a very odd guy and likes lots of reassurance. But she doesn't know why he would be asking her. Doesn't add up? I can't make much sense of that and I'm not sure how to respond. Things were busy at work, so I just left it with, "Well, figure it out, because it doesn't make sense." So, I'm not sure what kind of story I'm going to get when I get home. More likely she won't bring it up and hope I let it slide. This same guy Facebook messages my wife once or so per month with a simple, "Hi." My wife hasn't replied to him since I confronted her about the online affair, which makes my spidey sense tingle all the more. Still, it's not much to go on and I'm in ultra hyper paranoid mode. I think it's polygraph time. Might help calm my nerves if I'm overacting or confirm to me she is still hiding crap. So, the story goes that this guy's membership was comped as he lost his job late last year. So, he was checking to see if he could still come to the party and bring a couple of friends. The reason he called my wife is she is the one who sent out the membership directories. Seems plausible. Confirmed what I could by asking questions around the edges with a few other people at the party. The loss of trust eats me up from the inside. A month later, holidays went well. Had some time off work so we spent lots of time together as a family. Not as much one-on-one time as I would have liked, but overall, it was nice spending time together. 4 months ago, on advice from our therapist during MC, we stopped MC and started IC. My wife with the same therapist we used for MC and myself with a new therapist. I've learned a lot about myself, and while I still have much work to do, I'm ready to start back with MC. I brought this up with my wife and she agreed. So, this past weekend she mentioned it to her therapist. Her therapist said that she isn't ready yet to resume MC. 4 months of IC and she isn't ready yet. She also pointed out that we would need to find a third therapist as neither of our individual therapists should conduct our MC. Which I agree with. I'm kind of floored though that she told my wife she isn't ready for MC yet. Not sure what to make of that. Neither of us is very good at communicating our emotions honestly with each other. I've been trying to with her, but it seems to go wrong. I think MC would be very helpful at this point as it will help us communicate better. I feel like I'm in limbo right now. I've stopped gaming. I'm helping out around the house. Bedroom life is still great. We have been pretty good at sticking to a date night at least weekly, but there is still a wall up. When I bring up the difficult subject, topics get changed or she pulls into her shell and hides. I guess I'm worried that so much time will pass that when I bring up the pain, I'm still holding and she is going to complain that I'm living in the past. Is there a good way to communicate the pain we feel as the betrayed spouse, without it seeming like we are nagging? I wasn't to make sure that I'm communicating to her that I'm still hurting, but I don't want it to dominate every minute of every day. A week later, feeling a little bit better today. Had a rough night Friday. Looking through the phone bill I saw some texts from a number I did not recognize. Looked at the wife's phone when I got home and don't see them. I thought she had deleted them. I decided to not mention it until I got a chance to recover them. But I was really steaming. So, we went out to the movies for date night. I was glad it was to the movies. I don't think I could have held it together if we had to have a lot of interaction. Later that night I backed up her phone and searched that number. Turns out it was her sister's new cell phone number and was buried in a group MMS and not deleted as I thought. I'm glad I contained my anger until after I investigated. Even more relieved it turned out to be innocent. On a separate note, creepy guy who texted if he could come to the Christmas party. Facebook messages my wife asking if she would model the red dress she wore to the party for a project for his photography class. She replied that she didn't have the time. She didn't delete it, which I'm happy about, but I wish she would have mentioned it. I'd rather she talks to me about what this creeper is up to than try to handle it on her own. Sometime later, no luck getting a conversation going last week. Probably going to be a bad week this week too. Wife has a play opening Thursday. So, she moved date night last week from Friday to Saturday to accommodate changes made to the rehearsal schedule. She went to the theater most of the day Saturday to help finish building the set. I planned mini golf and trying a local restaurant for dinner that we haven't been to yet. I mentioned to wife last few date nights have been movies and I wanted something a little more interactive. She came home from the theater exhausted and not wanting to stand up anymore. So, we just went to dinner, then came home, and guess what we did? Watched a movie. I even offered to clear the table so we could work on a puzzle together. She said she just wanted to be held by me. We had slept together after the kids went to bed. I like physical contact. It's one of my love languages. But so is quality time. We are not getting any of that. Probably won't this week either. She will be gone to the theater by the time I get home tonight. I leave for a business trip tomorrow and won't be back till late, like midnight, on Wednesday. If I was home, it wouldn't matter much anyhow. She has practice Tuesday and Wednesday night. Her play opens Thursday, so I may see her Saturday morning this week. Maybe we will have late night fun one night, but other than that, no meaningful contact. I feel like she is keeping me at a distance mentally, and I just feel some physical need. She is keeping her therapy appointments but doesn't tell me much about what's going on. Just that it's difficult, and she doesn't like it. I've decreased my surveillance, not because I have complete trust, but because I was not finding anything. I believe at this point there is no active affair, with the exception perhaps of her love for the theater. I don't believe we are in a place where she won't slip back into old patterns of poor boundaries and get herself into trouble. I don't think she even realizes what a poor boundary is yet. I plan to give her until May to take some concrete steps, or I'll ask her to move out. Maybe get a place closer to the theater. Here are the things I'd like to see by May. 1. For us to return to MC. 2. No back-to-back theater productions. 3. Follow through on date nights that are not just sitting and watching something, or just sleeping together. I've told her that I want these 3 things. I have not told her that I've set a time limit in my head, or that if she doesn't start doing these things I plan to separate. I think I should tell her, but how far in advance? I felt like giving her 5 months is a bit too much. I plan to just keep asking her to do these things for me. And if she should either do them, or not, a deadline shouldn't really matter. 2 months later, seems like February was a long month. Lots going on, mostly good stuff. Just interesting how I feel like I haven't posted in a long time, and it's only been a few weeks. I thought I'd do a quick update for anyone who may be interested. I'm confident now that formerly WW is not in an active affair. I've dropped my surveillance to a minimum, and that has helped a lot with the constant anxiety of being on red alert. We are not in a place that I think it could never happen again. I'm not a big fan of never anyway. Have you ever noticed that in moves, whenever someone says, "I would never do that," in the very next scene they do that? So, I'll always have that bit of uncertainty that will keep me looking for red flags. But I think I'm past the hypervigilance state that I was in for almost a year. I've been going to my individual counseling and a SIA group. Both have helped me understand a lot about myself. I'm starting to work on me and worrying less about her. I can't fix her. I worry that her low self-esteem and need for ego stroking is going to get her into trouble again. She seems aware of it, so maybe that will help her to do better with boundaries. Only time will tell, but I'm at peace with whatever may come. I've researched my options for divorce and have a solid plan on what I will do if she strays again. I'm putting my full effort into a successful reconciliation, but the consequences of her failing to hold up her end are clear. I've been more active with some friends from church and been playing my clarinet more. I'm working on my improved skills and hope to find a jazz band to join soon. I think that would be a lot of fun. Getting out and developing my own interests is helping, as I'm not sitting at home alone ruminating on what she is up to at the theater. Wife and I are doing well at doing a date night each week. Well, most weeks. Sometimes it's just dinner and a movie, although tomorrow we are going to learn how to tango. Should be interesting, as neither of us are very good dancers and very self-conscious on a dance floor. I'm not very interested in dancing, but I think it will be a good experience for us to share together. Hopefully doing things outside of our comfort zone together will help bring us closer again. Our lives have gotten so routine, we need something to shake it up. Work wanted several of us subject matter experts to get more involved with social media. So, now I'm on Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn. I think getting on Facebook, the medium WW used for her emotional affair, has helped demystify it. I'm also more present on my wife's pages. Probably the same satisfaction a dog gets from marking its territory may not prevent another dog from trespassing, but it makes me feel like I'm doing something active to deter it. I think another thing that helped snap me out of my death spiral was a 30-second ride in an elevator at the building I work in. I was heading back up to my office after lunch when a rather attractive young lady stepped onto the elevator. Her hands were full, so I politely asked what floor. She told me and I hit the button for her. She thanked me, and I told her, "You are very welcome. My mother taught me to be a gentleman to pretty young ladies." To which she smiled and blushed. Nothing else was said. She did give a quick glance back as she got off the elevator and blushed again. I've seen her in passing since, but we don't talk. I don't know her name and have no intention of finding out. She works for another company in the same building. That's about all I know. I guess having that young girl blush at me gave me a little empathy for the excitement my wife got from her emotional affair with OM. My wife took it way too far. I'm going to have to look for ways to make my wife blush. I can see where a little of that excitement is needed. I guess that's one of the reasons that although I don't like to dance, I'm looking forward to going dancing with my wife tomorrow. I don't think she is interested in leaving me for anyone. She was looking for excitement. In our dance of mutually assured destruction, she wasn't doing much to entice me. And I wasn't doing much to excite her. So, we were both bored in our relationship. We still have a long way to go, but it's getting better. She is still doing too much at the theater. She has gone 4 to 6 nights per week depending on the week. I show up there on occasion to have dinner with her. A mix of announced and unannounced. Per our agreement, I have access to her phone. I've gotten to know both her friends and her frenemies. I don't see any signs of her looking for physical excitement outside of our relationship. Our bedroom life has gotten better. I did the 3 panties thing for Valentine's Day. That's been fun. She knows now that I don't like the time it's taking at the theater. I don't mind her doing things at the theater. I just think it should be second or third, or maybe fourth priority in life. Right now, it's her number one. She misses family parties, church events, and date nights due to theater commitments. If that was for 1 or 2 shows per year, it wouldn't be bad. But she is doing 6 to 8 shows per year. She gets maybe 4 weeks off per year when she does that. If it were her full-time job, I could understand. But that's on top of her day job. It's just too much. She knows it, but other than talk about it, she hasn't done much to slow it down. She does come home right after shows and rehearsals now. So, that is one action that shows she cares about fixing our relationship. I've stopped pushing her on it. When asked, I tell her again that I don't like the time she is putting in at the theater. I tell her that if she does back-to-back performances next season, starts in May, that it will have a negative impact on our reconciliation. But I'm giving her time to figure out what works for her. She has been discussing out loud the merits of various performances and hinting at how there are a couple she really wants to work on. Blah. Blah, blah. I tell her again that if she does back-to-back performances next season, it will have a negative impact on our reconciliation. I'm trying not to get caught up by her rationalization hamster. She likes to pull me in and then she can do something I don't want and say, well, we talked about it. So, I've taken to ending it with, sounds like a tough decision. I'm going to the gym, you want to come? Regarding the Let Her Go post, yes, I've read that in the past. It was a lot of help. I've already done some visioning of what divorced life would look like. Not that I want it to come to that, but it does take the fear factor out of it. In an interesting twist, she was checking my browser history to see if I was still surfing porn, and she saw I was searching for divorce laws in our state. I told her about the logic behind it and she was pretty damn scared. Broke into tears. What made her even more terrified is I didn't break down and cry or hold her or comfort her. I just told her that maybe we should get back to marital counseling. It's looking like April to start marital counseling. She has made some good headway in her individual stuff. She is realizing that she relies way too much on what other people say about her for personal validation. She is becoming aware of how people in her life use both positive and negative feedback about her to manipulate her to do things for them. I'm glad she is waking up to that fact. Back when I was saying how just doesn't get it, this was a big part of the it. From the ASEA meeting last night, I informed her I was being patient as we worked on our individual issues before regrouping to work on the marriage. But I'm tired of waiting and we need to get back to it. If she thinks things are better, it's only because not much has changed, except for me. I told her I'm tired of doing all the work and biting my tongue and holding it in. I told her I feel like I'm paying the price for her mistake, and she got off with almost no consequences. She mentioned she didn't go to her 25th class reunion, and that not all of the friends I had her unfriend were boundary issues. But because they were in the same circle, she agreed to cut contact. That fits with your comment that she did what it took to make me feel safe. But she hasn't yet done anything to solve the problem in our relationship. She asked me if I was unhappy enough that I wanted out of the marriage. I said yes, that was very much on my mind. I let her know that I love her, and I'm willing to work on it. But she needs to put more effort into than I am. I've changed a lot of things in my life and am working on becoming a better communicator. But we will need to spend a lot more time together. We focused on that for a bit but didn't make any good progress. I wasn't ready to have the pick now or I walk conversation. So I just listened to her rationalization hamster for a while. Blah, 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 we never spent much alone time together. Even when we were dating. Blah, 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 what would we do with more time? We have nothing to talk about. I open laughed at her when she said that. Blah, 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 we are doing date nights every week. Isn't that good enough? And my favorite, if you do leave me, all I will have is my theater friends. I don't want to abandon those relationships as I might need them. This was in relation to her still working back-to-back productions because she made commitments to them last year. I reminded her she made a commitment to me 22 years ago. In an interesting twist, her nightmare has always been, even pre-affair, that I would leave her because of something she did. Once she got through that, I left to drop my son off at the school for his choir practice and went to my meeting. It was around 10 p.m. when I got home. We snuggled on the couch and watched a show that recorded but didn't talk much. We talked last night. Didn't go well at all. She would hate herself for breaking commitments to the 2 productions she is currently involved with. She will take June, July and August off, but plans on working 2 productions later in the year. It was all about her and more her. I told her she might as well fill up the calendar for the year. I told her I would not continue to wait, and that it would be the end of our marriage. She said I was being black and white and that I should be more reasonable. I just said I was done being reasonable and went to bed. I got the answer I didn't want, but at least I got a clear answer. We had planned a date day on Saturday. I'll tell her in the morning that the path she has chosen is clear, and that there is not really any point to continuing a half-hearted attempt at reconciling. There is a family birthday party late afternoon. Not sure I should go to it. Might blow it off to go to poker night with the guys from work. They play 1 set per month, but I typically don't go. But might be a good thing to start. Days later, she just sent me a text saying she backed out of helping with the next production. I'm thinking of saying okay to letting her finish the current production. No more rehearsals. There are 15 performances over the next 4 weeks. She only goes to those performances. I'd go with her to the cast party. Then she is done with theater until we both agree that it's okay to return, and the pace of that return. That could be in 4 months. It could be in 2 years. She would have to accept the open-endedness of it. I'm looking for a sanity check. Is that too much compromise? She is production manager for the current performance, and backing out of it would probably preclude any director from ever working with her again. So, I'm inclined to allow it. 3 months later, second session of MC last night. Our therapist always asks how things are going first. Wife said, pretty good. Therapist could tell by my look of shock I disagreed. I went through the events of the prior week and shared that I think the core problem is we have different values when it comes to interactions with the opposite gender. After probing both of us, she confirmed my insight, which was both rewarding and worrisome. She called it a forever problem. She says most marriages have them. It existed in our marriage before the affair, but the affair broke the balance that existed. I kept my jealousy in check and gave her more freedom. I was more understanding that she was a naturally warm and affectionate person and was more tolerant of our differences. When the kids were young, she really couldn't do much with those freedoms that pushed me further than I was comfortable. Now that the kids are older, she is able to push the old norms further, and I'm not as at peace with it as I was prior to the affair. We ran out of time at that point, but it's clear the difficult part is going to be getting to a place where we are both comfortable. She feels my values and boundaries are stifling and cold. I think hers are naive and vulnerable. She said she made a mistake and now she feels she needs to pay for it for the rest of her life by changing who she is. I told her I think the same thing, other than I wouldn't call it pay for it. I call it preventing it from happening again. I'm glad she is being honest about her feelings going through the process. I hope we come discover some compromise that works for both of us. I can't go back to the old way. I can't live with the anxiety of it, and my only hope for not having that is to emotionally detach from my wife. I never envisioned a marriage where I stopped caring about my wife. The choices don't seem very appealing. 1. Leave her. 2. Live with the anxiety and hope she never cheats again. 3. Emotionally detach and live as roommates. Obviously, I leave her if she cheats again. Does anyone see a 4th choice? Something in my control. I know there is an option where she conforms to my norms of not being so affectionate and friendly with other men, but she doesn't seem willing to do that, or if she does, she will be unhappy and feel controlled. Besides, I can't make her choose that. I can only control myself. So, I'm looking for another choice that's in my power. It was our 22nd wedding anniversary yesterday. She told me she loved me and hoped to have another 22 or more years ahead of us and try to make them better than the past 22. She admitted that she suspected I was considering leaving her, and that she hoped that she would be able to make the changes that would prevent that from happening. I confirmed to her that leaving her was very much on my mind, but it was in her power to keep that from happening. That I need her to be open, honest, faithful, and spend time with me. She says she is willing to do these things. She agreed to take June and July off from the theater. She will be busy there again in August and September. Then should be off again until December and January. Then done again until at least May of 2014. As there are not back-to-back productions in that schedule, it is much less of a time sink than the past couple years. If she sticks with that, I'll keep working with her. If she blows up, tells me I'm being controlling, or starts working on the productions she said she was taking off, then we are done. I now have actions I can watch to see if she is sincere in making compromises. My comment: this is a 2-part story since it is very long, and trust me, the ending is worth waiting for. So, sub and bell, let me get my sleep and part 2 will come out tomorrow.